Alexandra Lavoie here from Ribbon News, and I'm reporting on the second day of the Canada Strong and Free Network conference currently taking place in Ottawa. I had the opportunity to interview Anthony Furey, who recently gained attention for his Toronto mayoral campaign in 2023, where the city ended up electing the far-left candidate Olivia Chow. With 15 years of experience in news media, Furey has worked as a newspaper columnist, executive, senior editor, and talk radio host. He is particularly known for his strong stance against safe injection sites, which are proliferating all over Canada due to Trudeau's radical promotion of hard drugs to our most vulnerable. In Toronto, where Mr. Furey resides, there has been a surge in criminal activity, homeless camp, food bank demand, and other issues that we discussed in this interview. Can you tell us a little bit how you find Olivia Chow? Do you think she's doing a great job?
Well, not exactly. She's a lovely lady. I think a lot of people in Toronto quite like Miss Chow, but when it comes to policies, I think that's where we're falling short. I think there's a bit of a buyer's remorse. I think voters didn't realize they were going to get such a sort of far left, more socialist leaning politician in terms of massive tax increases, almost double digit, the largest tax increase pretty much in Toronto's history. It's quite incredible. And seeing so many quality of life indicators already get worse in just about a year. Traffic worse, plans to get rid of more lanes from many major streets to put in bike lanes only so cars just can't even get around, and a real unwillingness to support the police at a time when the public want to see law and order addressed more.
With the rise of criminal activity and crime in Toronto, I wanted to know if he thinks that Toronto is still a safe place to live.
Well, I want to say yes, it's still safe because I want to be a promoter and a booster of the city so tourists and business people come, but I have to be honest and acknowledge, well, no, all the indicators of safety are going in negative directions. And to your point, people say they don't feel safe on the public transit anymore. They're seeing people doing heroin or fighting on the subway. The streets are just dirtier and more disrepair than they used to be. And it's very sad, and it does dampen our future. So many young people are leaving Toronto. They don't see a future there for affordability issues, yes, but also for public safety issues. So we really have to bring back a sense of law and order and stability so people feel like they can turn Toronto into a great city again. I do think it's a problem that we're experiencing really all across North America, the decline of great North American cities. We saw that decline happen back in the 1980s. These things are cyclical, they're patterns, and it's happening again. But the winds of change are coming to Canadian politics, not just on the federal level. I think they're coming at the municipal level too, where people are saying, no, enough of this socialist stuff. We care about the homeless, we care about the drug addicts, but they can't degrade our quality of life. We actually have to get these people off of drugs so they stop harming their communities and harming themselves.
What do you think it should be made for making the life more affordable in Toronto? Renting some places is just impossible.
Yeah, it's a major supply and demand issue. We're going to see, I hope, changes to the federal immigration policies because Justin Trudeau just increased the numbers so much. I mean, people who are recent immigrants themselves say, well, what are you doing? Like massive numbers of students coming in and various different categories of just people flooding Toronto such that you can't move around anymore. You can't get an apartment. You can't travel on the streets because we just don't have the infrastructure to meet the demand. So a lot of it is a federal policy. And then number two is let's not, as politicians, bring in policies that directly make people's lives less affordable. On the federal level, you got the carbon tax, prime example. But on the city level, politicians are doing things to raise taxes that are just harming regular folks and low-income people. Talking about a commercial parking levy. They're actually talking about a municipal sales tax possibly coming to pass in Toronto. If I get in, if I'm mayor, that's not going to happen. No way.
A lot of people have opposed themselves to the safe injection site. We saw one that was almost near a school. What are your thoughts on those safe injection sites?
It was my first campaign announcement during the last mayor's race that I would phase them out. We've got to get rid of them and replace them with treatment centers. It's plain obvious to everyone that the more injection sites we have in Canada, the more overdoses we've had, and the more drug culture more broadly that spills over into our communities. You reference schools, things that are negatively affecting the parks. The park that my kids play at, I found needles around the benches and so forth. It never used to be like that before. It's getting worse. It's spilling over into the suburbs. So I think by getting people on treatment more, the sort of stuff that they're doing in Alberta and they're now doing in more American jurisdictions, by doing that, we help these people reclaim their lives, which is great, and then we help make our communities safer as well.
We see the school system being a little bit more from the left, a little bit of indoctrination on children.
It's a major problem. And when I was knocking on doors, parents told me they're very concerned about that issue. Now, the mayor doesn't have a say over the school system, but it's a local day-to-day issue. So I think municipal politicians should be talking about it. We need to see a greater focus on the core subjects. Moving into so much activism, always going on about climate change, but the kids aren't even doing well at math. So let's focus on those basics, academic excellence. A lot of pushing this gender ideology stuff, let's just leave that alone, leave that to the family and so forth. Sure, everybody has to respect everyone's differences, but pushing this stuff so much, it's gotten out of control. And I think most reasonable, decent people just want to see things calm down. It's not a conservative position, it's a common sense position. I'll also note that we're seeing increasing violence in the classroom in ways that you wouldn't expect. Elementary school students, and they're attacking not just each other, the teachers are being assaulted. Teachers who have seniority, who have been working for 10, 15 years, they're just walking away from their jobs. There's no discipline anymore. Kids are not being given timeouts. They're not being sent to the principal's office anymore. It's a major cultural problem in our schools, and it makes me nervous about the future generation. As a parent, I'm concerned.
So what is next for you? Are you going to run for being a mayor again?
I'm going to keep involved in city issues and keep involved in the city of Toronto and gear up for what comes next. You bet.
Go over rebelfieldreport.com to support and encourage our independent journalism, and you can donate what you can, so every donation counts. So please go over rebelfieldreport.com.